家人们根本找不到工作呀。
Fans, I can't get a job at all. It's so hard to get a master's degree from a top-tier university. But I can't find a job. When I was little, I thought I would be a great person when I grew up. Now I'm grown up. But why am I useless?
I'm a
30-year-old PhD graduate. After spending 4.5 years completing my doctoral studies, I've found myself in a truly surreal job search. Firstly, companies I could get into during my undergraduate and master's studies are now completely out of reach. I worked at Alibaba and NetEase Games during my master's program. Now, when I apply for jobs because I'm 30, I'm likely already screened out at the resume screening stage, with no chance whatsoever. The blogger states that her advanced degree has put her in a very awkward position. Many small companies are hesitant to hire her, fearing they won't be able to retain her, while large companies see her as not cost-effective. During interviews, many HR professionals repeatedly asked her, "You're a PhD from Zhejiang University, why did you decide to join our company?" Each time she sincerely explains her reasons for abandoning an academic career path. However, despite seemingly smooth communication, there's often no moving forward after the interview. It's hard to find a job after 25, especially if you're unmarried and childless. Based on 2 interviews I had, the first one explicitly told me that they only wanted married women with children. They felt that at that age, being married and having children made you more stable, and I didn't get the job. The second one had 2 rounds of interviews, one with HR, which was quite good. They didn't ask any of those questions. In the second round, the manager's interview, the first thing she looked at was my age. She said, "You're already 28 or 29. I said yes. Then the entire conversation between us lasted no more than 5 minutes, because as soon as she saw my age, she had already passed me over. Once upon a time, in the traditional Chinese social imagination, a PhD was the jewel at the top of the ivory tower, symbolizing knowledge, status, and a respectable job. However, reality is gradually shattering this comforting illusion. The chilling reality of graduation equals unemployment is spreading at an unprecedented pace, even impacting doctoral graduates who stand at the top of the academic pyramid. Shenzhen was once an ideal city where as long as you dare to work hard, you can change your destiny. Countless young people came here with dreams, believing that hard work would eventually lead to upward social mobility. But today, in 2026, this city, once known for its vitality and opportunities, is struggling to escape the impact of the unemployment wave. I used to think that getting a PhD would make finding a job much easier, but looking at the current situation, the gap between my expectations and reality is huge. Moreover, everyone thinks that a PhD opens a wider range of employment opportunities, but that's not the case. The employment channels are actually narrower. The blogger frankly admits that in fact, employment options for PhD graduates are very limited, mainly to universities, research institutes, or various public sector positions. Some people asked her, why not work in a company? She explained helplessly, with her professional background, companies simply don't need such a high level of education. What companies really need are master's graduates who can start working immediately and are less expensive. My cousin's son spent 8 years studying civil engineering for his bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, and finally graduated last year. He should have been the pride of the whole family, but now they're all worried and can't sleep. The child always proved himself from a young age, never needing any parental supervision in his studies. He went on to get into Tongzhou University for his bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, majoring in the university's top-tier civil engineering program. 8 years of hard work made him the pride of the whole family, and they praised him to everyone they met. My cousin and her husband are ordinary workers who scrimped and saved their entire lives to support their son through 8 years of doctoral studies, never letting them suffer any hardship. The blogger mentioned that in the period immediately after graduation, her cousin's son submitted dozens of resumes, mostly targeting design institutes and construction companies relevant to his major. However, he received very few interview invitations. Later, they realized that the civil engineering industry has declined significantly in recent years. With fewer infrastructure projects, many design institutes and construction companies were downsizing. In this environment, job opportunities were scarce. The cousin, seeing her sons constantly facing setbacks, felt even worse, often losing her appetite and sleep. The whole family sighed constantly, their hearts heavy. Because I'm not married, I failed a job interview. Suddenly, I feel how terrifying it is for women to be unemployed. The interview at noon went quite smoothly. My salary expectations were the same as my previous job, no raise or additional demands. However, during the interview, the manager asked about my age and marriage plans, and I said I didn't want to get married. They didn't say anything, but today when I asked HR about the interview results, they told me I didn't pass. I pressed for the reasons, and it's because they're worried about managing the people at my age. A 26-year-old female programmer laid off after 5 years of work returned to Shenzhen to look for a job but couldn't get a single interview. During the period of unemployment, my family advised me to settle down, get married and have children. But I'm only 26, just engaged, not yet legally married, strictly speaking, still unmarried. I'm really unwilling to be trapped in family matters at such a young age, and I also want to focus on my career. Let's give it one more try. The first thing I did upon returning was to prepare my resume and send it out to over 50 companies, both large and small. After 4 years, I'm starting my job search again, feeling both anxious and hopeful. I wanted to see if I got any feedback today and try sending out a few more. Why can't so many undergraduates, master's students, and doctoral students find jobs? Or rather, why are they only able to find jobs that don't match their qualifications and majors? If you were born into poverty without family support, helpful connections, luck, or opportunity, then climbing up from the bottom is extremely difficult. At best, you'll struggle your whole life just to survive. That's reality, a harsh reality, and there's no way around it. The real employment situation in Shenzhen now, I feel, is very different from before. Many companies don't seem to be in a hurry to hire anymore. Whether you apply to a large company or a small company, the first response time is usually a little slower. Secondly, some job postings are like zombie job postings, just sitting there. You don't know if they're really hiring or not. There are no updates. I've seen these job postings many times before, and they keep appearing in my search list. And now, the job updates on Boss are so infrequent, there are very few new companies. Many of them feel like I've already seen them, and then I have to come back and refresh them again. If I had continued to pursue a PhD after graduating with my master's degree 4 years ago, what kind of job could I find now? A few days ago, my roommates and I were chatting, and we talked about the PhD graduates are finding it increasingly difficult to find jobs. Affected by the overall economic environment, coupled with a growing number of graduates, the competition for employment is becoming increasingly fierce. Unless you're from a top university, finding a job is really difficult. Thinking back to my own experience finding a job 4 years ago after graduating with my master's degree, because my major was relatively niche, finding a job wasn't easy. Everyone thinks Shenzhen in 2026 is a gold mine, with monthly incomes exceeding $1,500 easily achievable. But in reality, you'll struggle to find even a decent, non-deceptive job. If you're considering working in Shenzhen in 2026, take my advice, hold off. Open any job posting and you'll see a screen full of tempting positions starting at $1,200 per month, including room and board and 6 days off per month. But the reality? When you actually go for an interview, you'll find that the base salary is $500, and the rest is all performance-based pay. Whether you get it depends entirely on luck. At the entire job fair, only 2 companies were hiring for our major. One was in Ningbo, so I went to inquire. They told me that the starting salary for the first year or two was $8,000, all-inclusive, with housing fund and social security contributions, all at the local benchmark level. Basically the minimum. That means you get a maximum of $700 a month after taxes. The blogger said he now deeply regrets not going straight to work after graduating with his bachelor's degree 3 years ago. He originally thought that further studies and improving his qualifications would lead to better future prospects. But after graduating with his master's degree, he found that the job market was actually more difficult than before. He lamented helplessly that his current job hunting situation seemed not much different from when he graduated with his bachelor's degree. Most of the jobs he could find were sales positions, and jobs truly related to his major were almost impossible to find. Right now, businesses in Shenzhen are experiencing widespread layoffs. I was just passing by Shenzhen railway station on my way to get a business license for a client. Many people were carrying bags, but they had no idea where to go. You know, many business owners in Shenzhen can't even support themselves right now. Companies hiring are practically overflowing and they don't need more people. So they've either gone back to their hometowns or given up. How severe is the employment situation? Even with a bachelor's degree, you can't find a job in Shenzhen. This is the absurd situation unfolding in Shenzhen in 2025. Let me tell you, getting a PhD is even harder. If you don't believe me, I'll tell you a real case. I'll tell you my childhood friend, he's a PhD from Shanghai Jiaotong University, a top-tier university. You might find it surprising that a PhD from Shanghai Jiaotong University and 985 University can't find a job. Impossible. Let me tell you, he can't find a job he's satisfied with because his research focuses on a specific area called submarine cables. Have you ever heard of submarine cables? Only a few top research institutes nationwide will hire in this field, and they have to be located near the sea to have submarine cable business. Basically, you need to be in the Yangtze River Delta region, Beijing Tianzhi Hebei region, or the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area to find a research institute that will hire you for submarine cable work, right? Today, we'll talk about something hurting. Do you think getting a medical doctorate is the key to a successful career? Wrong. Reality is slapping you in the face. Our top medical talents are facing the most severe employment winter in history. First, top-tier hospitals are shrinking their positions and devaluing their degrees. Recruitment at top-tier hospitals in Guangdong has been halved. In previous years, an 8-year doctorate could at least get you a job in a shortage department like the emergency room. This year, even getting into the standardized residency training program is difficult. How fierce is the competition? A top-tier university in Jinan held interviews until 3 a.m. I just had an interview and asked if the position was newly created or if there had been some adjustments to the existing position. The interviewer said the position had always been there. They were previously looking for master's degree holders, but now they're looking for PhDs. Hearing that, I felt a mix of emotions. It's not that we're not good enough or that we're not hardworking enough, but the current job market, the threshold is quietly rising. We went all the way to master's and doctoral degrees, thinking it was an advantage, only to find out it was just a basic hurdle. Academic qualifications are slowly changing from a bonus to an entry ticket. Many people who have trouble finding jobs want to go back to school for a doctorate, unaware that pursuing a doctorate is much harder than finding a job. First, can you get in? A 985 university only has 1 or 2 doctoral supervisors a year. From preparation to acceptance, it will take at least 2 or 3 years. It's not you choosing the school, it's the school choosing you. Second, can you graduate? PhD programs now start at 4 years, and a slight extension can turn it into 5 or 6. Third, can you afford it? A PhD, especially in the humanities, only comes with a monthly stipend of $300, barely enough to live on. Fourth, job hunting is a short-term stress, but pursuing a PhD is a long-term drain on time, energy, and emotions, fraught with uncertainty. I graduated in 2021. Before even graduating, I started working in an electronics factory during my internship. I don't even know why I went to an electronics factory in the first place. I worked as a quality inspector for a year and a half, then internally transferred to a data clerk position for 2 years. I left in October 2024 and returned to my hometown for several months of rest. In March 2025, before I went out to look for a job, I casually posted a video on Douyin, which went viral. I was unemployed and bored at the time, so I kept making videos, and the traffic was pretty good, and I even got advertising offers. The blogger said that she started doing self-media. A year later, she found that her income was pitifully low, not enough to make a living, so she had to give it up. Later, she decided to try her luck in Shenzhen, thinking that working in an electronics factory again would at least provide a stable income. However, after 18 days in Shenzhen, she still hadn't found a job. She said she was extremely anxious, as if all her paths were blocked. What if you really can't find a job in Shenzhen and have nowhere else to turn? You have to live. If you haven't found a suitable job before the Chinese New Year, you're struggling to even survive. If you can't find a job in the short term, get one first and then think about other things. You can look for daily paid jobs, like package pickup or sorting. Once you're alive, think about career development. Don't just drift along aimlessly. The current situation of ordinary college students looking for jobs in Shenzhen. Finding a job this year is incredibly difficult. The job market is increasingly competitive, with wages constantly being driven down. Take me as an example. I resigned in February and came to Shenzhen in March to look for work, but I still haven't found a suitable job. I have submitted over 300 resumes and interviewed with countless companies, but all my applications have gone unanswered. After a while, I'm almost numb and on the verge of a breakdown. Finding a job this year is truly hellish. What's wrong with Shenzhen? It used to have over 20 million migrant workers, but now it's becoming increasingly deserted. Shenzhen has long lost its former vibrancy. Shops along the streets are being sold off and closing down one after another, and large swaths of apartments are empty. Hotels and clubs are deserted, and even entertainment venues like KTVs are practically empty. It wasn't like this before. Longhua and Bao'an were bustling with young people. This year, finding a job is exceptionally difficult. Even sales positions are hard to find now. When I opened Boss Hiring and I saw that those companies that are always hiring seem to be inactive, it's really strange. What's even stranger is that, for example, if they want to hire someone to fry French fries, you can't just fry dough sticks, and you have to have experience frying French fries before. In recent years, China's economy has continued to weaken, and the job market has become increasingly tight, with many young people repeatedly hitting roadblocks in their job search. Recently, a job seeker was reprimanded by the company's HR and ultimately disqualified from the interview simply for asking about how many days off per month before the interview, causing a public outcry. Overseas Chinese writer Li Ying recently published a chat log on her X platform. The incident occurred on the 8th of May. Before an interview, the man inquired about the company's leave policy with the HR department. Unexpectedly, the HR representative suddenly changed their attitude, stating, "If you're going to talk to me about off time again, then don't bother coming for the interview tomorrow." The man explained, "I just want to understand the job information in advance. If I don't ask now, won't I still ask during the interview tomorrow?" However, the HR representative remained firm, saying, "Make yourself valuable first, then talk about making money. If you're always focused on salary and off time, then don't come tomorrow." Subsequently, the HR representative cancelled the interview, citing unsuitability, leaving the job seeker completely bewildered. Many netizens angrily commented, "Many companies nowadays treat their employees like cattle in leaks. The employment environment is so bad, companies think giving you an interview is a favor and you dare ask about the off time? Leave is part of the job benefits. Why is even asking about it a crime?" That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, or share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.